Hello YouTube, I'm here from Noodle Studios and today I'm giving you my 5th episode on my beginner's Photoshop tutorial series, and today what I'm going to be focusing on is color grading within Photoshop. So the first thing I wanted to do is open up this photo, so you can open up whatever photo you want. And the second thing I wanted to do is suggest to you, and what I'm going to do is come into the workspaces, into this options menu where we can see the full list, and click on photography. The photography workspace is built quite well, and it also works very well for whatever you're trying to do in photography. So I highly suggest that you switch to photography whenever you're going to be doing color grading and those sorts of photo editing oriented tasks. So the first thing we're going to do is just to unlock the background, just because it's a thing that I like doing, and then I'm actually going to call it grass photo, and so now we have this here. Now the first thing that you usually look at when you're color grading is actually not color grading. Well, what we're doing is the full editing process. So we're going to be looking first at cropping and making sure that the photo is straight and that we've got a good photo composition. So what I like to do to simulate cropping, and I think it's a really handy little thing to help you out, is to actually come into the zoom tool by clicking here or by pressing Z on the keyboard, and then you can actually just use this to decide where you might want to crop it. So you might say, okay, do you want to come in here? Then if you hold spacebar and then let go, you can move it around. You can say, or maybe I should come in here, or maybe it would actually look good further over here. And I actually think that it will look quite nice if we come as far in towards this area as we can without getting it too pixelated. I think that this is a either 12 or 14 megapixel image, so we can't zoom in too much, but we should be fine for a fair bit. So I'm going to come into the crop tool up here, and I'm going to start thinking. I'm going to hold shift so that we keep the right aspect ratio. Now I'm going to start thinking of how I might crop it. So we want to try and keep this fairly big. As I said before, I don't want it to end up being too pixelated. I also don't want too much of the ground in there, and I want the bug to be this little fly with the nice raindrop to be right on the left. So we've actually got a rule of thirds overlay here. So if you don't know what the rule of thirds is, it's not really a rule. You can choose to follow it, but it helps you with your composition. So if we have the bug in the center of this one here, then it might turn out looking okay. Although usually it would be in the center. So we're just going to click there, and now I reckon that this is looking quite good. So let's jump into the actual grading part of the process. First thing that I always like to do is add all of my adjustments and then actually tweak them later. So I always add a brightness and contrast, and then I like to add a levels, an exposure, a color balance, and we might also throw a vibrance in there as well. So we've got quite a range of these adjustments, so let's start tweaking them from the first down. So let's start with brightness and contrast. I usually like quite high contrast images. I think that it really, in most cases, gives them quite an artsy look. So I'm actually going to bump up the contrast of this photo, and I can see that I like the blacks nice and dark, except when we bump this up, the whites get too dark. So I'm actually just going to leave the contrast how it is. Let's tweak the brightness a little bit. I might actually put the brightness down, and then put the contrast up just a bit. Yep, that's looking nice. And then we'll come back, and now we're going to come into our levels, and then here we've got the black, and I'm going to raise this up a bit. So I don't want it to get too much. You could go all the way to this and it would really look very stylized and it'd have quite a heavy feel to it. But I'm just going to keep it. So this is original. I think I might have it about here. And I think that this is looking nice, and I don't want too much more white. And what we can do is, if we actually think that we have too much white in the image, and we can come to here. So with this top one, if you drag it in, it will make either more black or more white. With this one, if you drag this in, it will make either less black or less white. So that's the way that that works. So now let's come into exposure. I don't think that we're actually going to have to tweak too much in this. We could put it up a bit. Actually, it looks nice here. It's starting to get a little bit too much. Actually, we're getting lots of highlights. So I might just delete this exposure. So you can just chop and change things depending on how it's turning out. And now with the color balance, I'm going to play with this quite a bit. I want to kind of soften the yellow feeling. With these kind of photos, you can go with whatever look. Right now it's quite yellow. So I'm actually going to try getting some blue in here. And actually, no, I'll put this back. Put this right back. And then I might put some magenta in the mid-tones like this, so we can get some nice magenta coming out in the background and a bit of cyan. And then I'm going to come into the shadows. And I'm going to add my blue in the shadows. And then to contrast it, I'm going to add some yellow in the highlights. So we had 25 blue, so we might make about 6 yellows. So that's going to give us a very interesting look. You can see that we've changed quite a few things. So before and after, and that's our color balance. So now let's come into vibrant. What I like to do quite a bit, I don't know, I just like the look of it, is I actually turn the vibrance right up. And just letting you know, the vibrance doesn't do as much as the saturation. So I turn the vibrance right up, and then I turn the saturation down. So I don't turn the saturation down too much. In fact, this is looking a little bit too much, so we'll turn the vibrance down and put the saturation up a bit. And here we go. So this is how to color grade an image. There are quite a few other options, but they're all really, to be honest, quite self-explanatory. We've got black and white. If we click on this, all it does is make the whole black and white, make the whole photo black and white. We have other things like photo filter, channel mixer, but I find personally that after about the black and white, it starts getting to more advanced stuff that you don't use as often, but it can also be really awesome and help out a lot. The other thing I'd like to mention is that you can see that all of these adjustments are layers, which means, although you may not think about it, that each adjustment, it follows the same layer order. Like if you have a square on top of another, it changes which one is on top, which is which one you see. So if you have vibrance on top of color balance, you might get a different look to color balance on top of vibrance. So I'm just going to go delete the black and white and see if we can see some of this. If I bring the brightness up, you can see that, yeah, you can see a fairly big change. If I bring the levels up, then it doesn't change it too much, but you can find different results depending on the order of the layers. And so thanks for watching this color grading video. You might want to switch back to your normal workspace at the end, whether it's essentials, or I always like to have my workspace which I can use as just like full screen picture. I set this up, so you might like to do this too. I don't know, you might not want to at all. But again, thanks for watching. Make sure you check out my tutorial number 6, which will be coming soon. I'm going to be working a lot more on this series, making a lot more videos, and I'll see you later. Bye.